What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox, your brewmaster in chief. And tonight in the BrewLab, I'm continuing on my mission to play at least one of each of the archetypes from the decks that were submitted for the World Championship event, which is now a couple of days away on October 8th. We played already the new Grixis Epiphany list that 4 players are bringing to the event. Next up, I played the mono green aggro list from Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa, which is the current defending world champion. And tonight, I wanted to have a look at one of those guys that are just the type of people that I love, because they decided not to join everybody else and play an Epiphany deck, and they just try to come up with something completely unique and different that nobody else brings to the table. And I'm talking about, of course, Noriyuki Mori and his Azorius Tempo build. This thing is pretty cool. And the question is it positioned well enough to combat the rest of the people that are going to be, mostly playing Izzet turns or Grixis turns? There's only 2 people playing mono green, 2 people playing mono white, and the rest is some form of Alrund's Epiphany deck. This list is running 1 copy of Alrund's Epiphany in the main board and 1 on the side, but it's definitely not what it's all about. It's a tempo deck. I mean, that's what he's calling it, and I can see why. And there's some interesting choices in here that I still have yet to uncover the reason for, and I hope that we can get to the bottom of this by the end of this video. So, Noriyuki Mori's Azorius Tempo is running 3 copies of Concerted Defense. Counter target non-creature spell. Unless its controller pays 1. That's just the baseline. So it's kind of like a cheaper Jwari Disruption. But if you have party members on the board, it ends up costing an additional 1 for each creature in the party. So we have some warriors in the form of the Legion Angel. We have some clerics in the form of the Luminarch Aspirant, as well as some wizards in the form of the Benevolent Hermit duo. So it potentially can, if you have all 3 of those on the field, cost the opponent 1 plus 3, 4. They would have to pay 4 to cast the spell that the non-creature spell that they're trying to cast if you counter it with Concerted Defense. A little bit of new tech there. I actually have never played this card much. I tried a couple of copies in my banned party list a few weeks back, or almost a month back at this point. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good to run in a party deck, but it's interesting to see it here. And I would love to see, once Worlds starts, whether he made the right choice or not. He's not a moron, but he is definitely a newer sort of up-and-comer. I think he won his first event at the Kaldheim Championships. Japanese fellow, really friendly, speaks good English. He doesn't need a translator like some of the other guys. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see whether he's built his deck well enough to go up against the barrage of Izzet dragons, Izzet turns, Grixis turns, all the cards, the decks I already mentioned. Next up, we have 4 copies of Fading Hope. Oh, by the way, I'm going to do this thing where, like, if the card is in the main deck and there's also 1 in the sideboard, I'll mention it. So there's 3 Concerted Defense in the main board and 1 in the sideboard. So there's four copies of it available in the 75 cards that, are available to this player. Next up, we have 4 copies of Fading Hope. In a tempo deck, it's pretty good. You can bounce the opponent's threats at a crucial moment when they might be attacking, and they might not have the mana to replay that threat the same turn in which you bounce it, and then you get to untap with open board and attack in. Or you can save one of your own creatures from targeted removal and bounce it back to your own hand and then recast it again, thus wasting their important removal spell. Something that's really important to remember, and this goes for many things, Snakeskin Veil as well, anything that the opponent targets with a card that has Learn stapled on the back of it, like Igneous Inspiration or Divide by Zero. If the target is now no longer there, that spell fizzles, they do not get to Learn. So it's really, really cool to do that to them when they were like, oh, sweet, here, Divide by Zero, I'm going to get my Environmental Sciences, draw a land or something. You do not get to Learn if the target is either hexproofed or removed beforehand or bounced or whatever the case might be. So just keep that in mind. It's a very important little piece of tech there. Then we've got one copy of Fateful Absence, the new removal spell that White got in Midnight Hunt. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Unfortunately, the opponent gets to investigate. And there's one copy in the main deck, and there's 2 copies in the sideboard. Will be interesting to see when he thinks it's important to bring in more against which matchup. Probably mono green, mono white, because there aren't that many creatures in the Izzet Turns deck. But yeah, I've only played a few games with this brew just to prepare myself a little bit for this video. But the way I've been running these videos over the last couple of days with where I'm play testing the decks from the World Championship event is that I want to just sort of go in blind and play it on the rank ladder and see if I go up against the other decks that the people will be bringing and see how it performs and how I would be sideboarding and whether I can figure out and get inside the mind of the people that created these lists and figure out what their strategy is going to be when they play against the different matchups. Because take it from me, they know full well what they're doing. These guys are in the top 16 players on the planet. They know exactly what they're doing. They have teams behind them, play testing day in, day out, insider information. They know that there's going to be a certain amount of this and that deck at the event beforehand, and they plan for it. And they usually have a good plan. So and before I continue with the deck tech, let me just continue on this tangent briefly. My gameplay on the first day, the first video that I posted, Yellow Hats, Grixis Epiphany, was shoddy. I ended up playing mono green, I think was the first matchup, and I lost really quickly and really thoroughly. I wasn't even able to put a threat on the board. I wasn't able to get any of my sweepers. No matter what I sideboarded in, the guy had me down to 0 health within, the game was effectively, but not literally, over by turn 4. Turn 5, swing, kill, and I still hadn't even gotten anything out onto the battlefield or even the right lands to cast my spells. And it felt terrible. And it got me thinking that perhaps Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa, being the genius that he is, and Seth Mansfield, the only other mono green player at the event, they might be onto something. They have to get the perfect god draw, and they have to go really quick. But if they do, there's very little this list, not this list, Izzet Turns and the Grixis Turns can do against them, and they might just have brought the right deck to this event to beat Alrund's Epiphany. But we'll have to see. Anyway, oh, sorry, and then the next 2 matches I played in the Epiphany, Grixis Epiphany list was Clerics, and I did win the last one by the skin of my teeth. But the first one, the guy thrashed me as well. One was Mardu Clerics and one was Orzhov Clerics, which there are none of at the event. And this is what has been perplexing me, and I've made comments about it on my Facebook, in the various comment sections of my own videos and other streamers' videos. Why is there no other, let's say, counter strategy to this list? Surely there must be something. I even watched CGB and Arjuna. They run a podcast called the ArenaCraft Podcast, and they had one of the old greats on there, Mr. Flores, and they recorded it before the deck list for Worlds was leaked, and they made some predictions at the end of their podcast. What do you think, CGB? What do you think, Flores? What do you think, Arjuna? Will the top players on the planet be bringing to the event? What do you guys think we're going to be seeing in terms of decks? And they were all leaning towards something with, Meathook Massacre, perhaps a really good Dimir deck is going to take it, blah, 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 blah. And they did say, yeah, sure, Alrund's Epiphany is really strong, and there'll probably be some decks at the event with Alrund's Epiphany, but they were convinced that a Blood on the Snow, Meathook Massacre, Test of Talents, Dimir deck would have been probably more prevalent and so good a counter to the Is It Turns decks that there wouldn't be that many of them. And I think they were basing their assumptions on some events results from Star City Games, etc., where mono green was just dominating the field. And I can understand why they thought that. I honestly thought the same. I thought maybe even some Azorius controls lists, like CGB's ones from his popular videos with the no win cons and manlands and devastating mastery and doomscar and maybe the new Teferi. There isn't any of that. Not one. It's just Is It Turns, a few mono greens, a few mono whites, Noriyuki Mori's Azorius Tempo, and then there's Jean-Emmanuel Depraz, Temur Treasures, and that's it. No one bought Dimir, no one bought Azorius, no one brought, Gruul. It's baffling to me. And I think it might have a lot to do with the fact that these people play test in teams, and I don't know, I'm baffled. But anyway, my very long-winded and rambly point before I continue into the deck tech is that those clerics decks that I played against, I had very little or no answers for their strategy. The Grixis list I was playing is so tailored to go up against what they knew would be the majority of the decks in the event, in the form of Is It Turns or Is It Dragons, that any other deck I got shredded. There wasn't anything I could do. I didn't have the cards in my deck or in my sideboard to combat the cleric decks, and they just pawned me. I really had to struggle. I had 1 or 2 copies of Go Blank. I think 1 copy of Go Blank in the sideboard, which I managed to top deck in the perfect moment by pure luck against the last cleric guy, and I exiled their graveyard so they couldn't do the aura getting sacrificed to the Pyre of Heroes or whatever it's called, bringing the clerics back from the graveyard and tutoring one out of the library cycle, because I exiled their entire graveyard, and then I managed to just squeak in a win at the end. But the deck felt like it had no answers to that, and I never ended up playing against anybody with Is It Turns, typical arena matchmaker shenanigans. Like, just as you gear up yourself to play a specific matchup and win, then you never go up against that guy, and you just go up against the one that will always beat you. But that's another point and another tangent. So anyway, it's not in any way to excuse my shoddy gameplay. It was just an observation about the current busted Alrund's Epiphany meta that, I think it will get the ban hammer. If you haven't already read the article that I posted in the bottom of my PVDDR mono green aggro list, just go and check that video out. You don't have to watch the whole video, although I would love it if you did and left a like and all that stuff. But just look into the video description. It's the first link there. It says like Alrund's Epiphany article, and I made it into a tiny URL for you guys, and just click on that and read that article, and you'll better understand my point here and why I think this card just needs to get the hell out of standard. But anyway, sorry about the tangent. Back to the deck. Next up, we've got 4 copies of Intrepid Adversary. And like, I wish that if I could just speak to Noriyuki Mori for 5 minutes and ask him, hey man, when you were coming up with this deck, did you just start with 4 Intrepid Adversaries and 4 Spectral Adversaries and then sort of build the rest of the deck around that? Because that's what it feels like to me. So he's playing 4 of each of the white and blue adversary in the list. Main deck, lots of 2-drops. But anyway, more on that in a second. 4 Intrepid Adversaries. Lifelink 3/1 for 2 mana, 1 and a white. When it ETBs, you can pay 1 and a white any number of times. And when you pay this cost 1 or more times, you put that many Valor counters on Intrepid Adversary. Creatures you control get +1/+1 for each Valor counter on Intrepid Adversary. So you play this on turn 6, you can pay the cost 2 times, all your creatures get +4/+4. I beg your pardon, +2/+2. If you do it on turn 4, they get +1/+1. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And it's got lifelink, which sometimes is very relevant. You can trade up, trade up or trade down in a block and still be happy because you gained a little bit of life along the way, and that's quite important because it's the only life gain in the deck whatsoever. Next up, Loyal Warhound. 1 copy in the main board, 2 copies in the sideboard. This is another one where I'm like, wow, the guy is obviously, I haven't yet understood his thinking. I mean, I guess you really want to make that land drop if you don't, you hold a really good hand, but that's got everything that you need, but it's a little low on lands, and then you don't top deck it within the second turn or third, then you can play the Loyal Warhound and search your library for a plains, put it onto battlefield tab, then shuffle, which is pretty nice. And that shuffling might, make your land drops a little bit more consistent, as well as, actually making the land drop. And then you get a 3/1 Vigilant guy that, if you've got an Intrepid Adversary down, can be a little bit bigger. I've never played with this card, not once. So it'll be interesting to see how it performs, and when, which matchups would I be sideboarding in more copies or out. I honestly don't know yet, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. What have I misread? Where do you think this is supposed to which matchup is this supposed to go up against? Next up, the Aspirant. Luminarch Aspirant. Human Cleric, 2 mana for a 1/1, and at the beginning of your combat, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Everybody knows this card at this point. It's from Zendikar Rising, the oldest current set in Standard, and it's probably the best 2-drop mono white has seen in a very long time. It's all over the place, and for good reason. The minute I first saw this card with Zendikar Rising dropped, I was in love, and it's so good, and I can understand why there's 4 copies in the main board. Then we've got 2 copies of Jwari Disruption, which is the only MDFC in the whole deck, as you can see. So, that actually brings the total lands from 24 to 26 potentially. It's really good as a tempo play on like turn 2, turn 3, sometimes turn 4. But then, by turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, usually the opponent has enough mana to pay for the 1 extra to get around it. At that point, you can start just playing it as a land and, grow your mana pool. So that's okay. But nevertheless, sometimes the opponent casts the Alrund's Epiphany on turn 6, when they, with exactly the amount of mana for a foretold Alrund's Epiphany, and they don't save any mana, at which point Jwari Disruption feels pretty damn good. But you've also got Concerted Defense and the new meta-defining card, the Malevolent Hermit. This thing is everywhere. And I'll explain a little bit why. I mean, okay, we all remember with some of us with pleasure, others with butt shriveling pain, the overbearing presence of the Bone Crusher Giant. It's when you staple an already good effect onto a creature that can also attack and has other relevant text on it. So Bone Crusher Giant was a shock strapped onto a 4/3 body that, if you want to remove, also deals 2 damage to you. Okay, this is a 2-mana 2/1, which is also a counter spell, which also can come back from the graveyard, and when it does, it makes it so that your non-creature spells can't be countered for the rest of the game as long as it's on the battlefield. So really, really good, really, really good. And I can't believe I overlooked this card when I first saw it. I was just like, a little bit wonky. It's in pretty much every single, Grixis list from the World Championship, and there's actually 2, 3, 4 of them in this deck as well. And for good reason. You can, counter target spell for 1 mana, unless the opponent pays 3. It's kind of like the old, oh goodness, what was it called? The Eldraine one. Oh my goodness. Drawing a blank. Counter. Boop. Boopity bop. Where's Eldraine? There. There. I am thinking of here. Mystical Dispute. Counter target spell unless its controller plays 3. It's the same, but for 1 mana, and it's stapled onto a good body that can also come back as a flyer. Insane. We're going to see a lot more of this card, I think, as the format evolves and the metagame develops. So 4 of in total, 2 in the main, 2 in the sideboard. Then we've got the other adversary. 2/1 flyer with flash, that when it ETBs you can pay 2, 1 and a blue, so the same as the cost. They're the 2 most cheaply costed adversaries, because the green, I think also the red one, I think the red one as well, it's 3 mana to do the ETB trigger. The white and the blue one is 2 mana. So you can do that at however many number of times you want. And when you do that, you can put +1/+1 counters on a Spectral Adversary, and then you phase out that many target artifacts, creatures, and or enchantments. So when your opponent goes for the Doomscar, or the Burn Down the House, or the whatever, targeted removal, you can flash in an adversary, pay the cost even just once. Say they're Blood Chief's Thirsting your Luminarch Aspirant on turn 4 or whatever. You can flash in the Spectral Adversary and phase out the target. And you can also do that same little trick that they do in, when you, let's say, for example, block something with your 1/1 Shambling Geist, and then you click block, and before you go, before the next phase in the attack step, you sacrifice the blocker to a Deadly Dispute, and now the attacker just doesn't, the damage doesn't go through. Remember, you cannot do that with trample creatures. Remember that. I've had it drilled into my head from losing to that too many times. If you do that trick with trample, it doesn't work. But if you do it with phase out, it does. Again, not with trample, but with everything else. So you block something without trample, and then you flash in the adversary and phase out the blocker. Their attacker doesn't get through for the damage anymore. And you then untap with an additional thing on the battlefield, and you didn't lose the blocker. Great tempo play. So, fitting the archetype very well. Next up, we've got 1 copy of Brutal Cathar and Moonrage Brute. When it ETBs, you exile target creature an opponent controls until this creature leaves the battlefield, and it's daybound. And then if it becomes nighttime, it becomes a Moonrage Brute, which gains Ward 3 life and First Strike and becomes a 3/3, so much better. And I wish this card was a little bit more resilient, a little harder to get rid of. I'm still gonna play. I'm still building a Boros list that is in the cards for when I'm done with this, World Championship decks little adventure that I'm on. I've only got a couple more videos to shoot before I'm done with it, so probably the first video of my own original decks that comes after this is going to be a Boros list running Brutal Cathar in some way, shape or form, because I really like the card. And there's actually another 3 in the sideboard, so a full 4 Brutal Cathars available to this guy. Again, it'll be interesting to see when he brings them in against which matchup. Then again, very good tempo card, the Elite Spellbinder, the Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa card from, because he won last year's World Championship. Every World Champ gets a card designed in their likeness. This is Paulo Vitor's one, and you love to play it, you hate to play against it. It's so freaking good, especially when you're trying to stall control mages. You bring this down on turn 3, you exile first of all, you get to look at the opponent's hand, which is really important, gain a lot of information. What do I need to play around? What removal does he have? Blah, 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 blah. But then you also get to, let's say, for example, exile his Alrund's Epiphany. That ends up making that Alrund's Epiphany unforetellable, first of all, and second of all, it makes it cost 2 more mana to cast, which makes it cost 9 mana, which is prohibitively expensive. Usually in a tempo deck, you're trying to stall your opponent and get value along little bits of increments along the way until you can beat them before they can get their plan off the ground. So if you couple the tax on the Alrund's Epiphany that has now been exiled by Elite Spellbinder, on top of it you have a Reidane, God of the Worthy, in play, which makes spells your opponent casts as mana value 4 or greater cost 2 more to cast. That suddenly that Alrund's Epiphany becomes 9, 10, 11 mana to cast. This also slows down your Doom Scars, your Blood on the Snows, you name it. It just makes everything that costs 4 or greater that the opponent casts that are non-creatures cost 2 more to cast. And again, tempo play slows the whole thing down. And it comes, it's a dual face card, and on the backside it has Valkmira, the Protector's Shield, which is an incredible legendary artifact. And I think that's why he's running 3 of them. I think this will be great against the mono green matchup, against the mono white matchup, because they play Snowlands, and Snowlands come into play tapped if you're running Reidane. He's not playing Snowlands, so you Noriyuki Mori, you cheeky devil. I love the inclusion of this card. It's also a 2/3 flyer with Vigilance, which is great, and you can grow it with your Luminarch Aspirant. You can grow it with your Intrepid Adversary. I wonder once again what he would be siding in and out and against when and what. But yeah, 3 copies of Reidane is sweet. Then he's done a thing which I never do. If I play Legion Angel, I usually put 1 in the main, 3 in the sideboard. He's got 2 in the main, 2 in the sideboard. And I think there's 2 reasons for this. First of all, there's a higher probability that you will actually draw one of these things in the game. If you have 2 in the main and 2 in the side. But also, he probably wanted more space in the side for something else, and so he decided to run 2 in the main. So it's probably a combination of those 2 things coming together, making it that he has 2 Legion Angels in the main board and 2 in the sideboard down here. 4/3 Angel Warrior with flying that replaces itself every time it ETBs. So pretty sweet. I can see why. But definitely a solid sort of flying mid game here. To evasively get in for damage while you're bouncing opponents' creatures and saving your own, that kind of stuff. So I can see why. And it also increases the tax of concerted defense the opponent has to pay to get their spell off, because it is a warrior. So warrior, cleric, like I said, warrior, cleric, wizard is the only party members we have in the deck. And then there's a singular copy of Alrund's Epiphany, but there is 1 more copy hidden down here in the sideboard. So there are 2. It is an Epiphany deck. Even this one is an Epiphany deck. There's 2 copies of it. He's running 1 in the main. It'll be interesting once again to see what he waits for, when to cast it. Is he ever going to sideboard the second copy in? Against which matchup? I beg your pardon. It'll be interesting to see. And then one last observation about his mana base. First of all, no Field of Ruin. Surprising. Second of all, gone for 3 Cave of the Frost Dragons and only 1 Hall of the Storm Giants. So definitely favoring the cheaper activation cost and the ability to fly that the Cave of the Frost Dragon has over the higher activation cost and ability not to fly of the Hall of the Storm Giants. And also not a single Field of Ruin. So interesting mana base. But it's 24 lands, 4 pathways, 3... this is weird also. I would probably run more of these. But I guess if you cannot play it untapped at any crucial point in the match, but crucial points tend to happen pretty later on in the game, so I would probably go 3-3 split, but I'm going to leave it exactly as he crafted it. I don't want to change a thing for the purposes of this video. That's what we should be doing. The only other cards I have not talked about, because there isn't one in the main board, are the one-ofs in the sideboard, and that is Portable Hull, Ray of Frost. One of. Ray of Frost is a red hate card. It just essentially acts like a Bubble Snare, or what's the other card? Enchanted Sleep or something like that. Tap target creature that is enchanted by this aura. But if it's a red creature, then it doesn't even... it loses all its abilities. And then that creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step, unless they get rid of the aura. So one of... probably looking to target something like Goldspan Dragon with this thing, I'm assuming. Again, it's difficult to question the choices of people that are currently in the top 16 players on the planet when I'm not even out of platinum yet. So I just have to trust that they know what they were doing. All right, so that's the deck. I cannot tell you what the play lines and synergies are like I usually do with the ones that I've built, because I'm not entirely sure. So let's just take it straight onto the best of 3 ladder and play some games and see how things shake out, and whether Noriyuki Mori has has got the right deck to beat. And what I'm hoping is that the matchmaker gives me the matches that are the decks from the World Champs. I hope to play at least one mono white guy. I hope to play at least one Is It Turns deck, and I hope to play at least one mono green guy. And then we'll really get to see how the deck performs against those, and what my sideboard options are to make any potential game 2s, game 3s more successful. All right, that's enough blabbing. Let's jump in. One last little bit of blabbing. At this point in the video, every single time, those of you who know me by now know that while I'm queuing up for my first game is when I like to do the selfless plugging. Or shameless, not selfless. Shameless plugs. Consider subscribing to the channel if you have not done so already, please. I'm very, very close to 200 subscribers, and when I reach 200 subs, that will trigger a giveaway. That looks like a nice hand. That looks like a very nice hand. It'll trigger a giveaway. And if you would like to take part in said giveaway, you just go and look in the video description down below. You scroll down past all the deck information and whatnot, and you will see a little title, a little heading that says giveaway video information. Just click on that and it'll bring you... We're probably staring down the barrel of a Jwari as well here. Anyway, before I think about the game, don't look at the screen. Click on the little link. It's a 5-minute watch. Watch that and you will know what you need to do to enter the giveaway. Done. Now let's play some Magic, boys and girls. Watch it be a Jwari. I knew it. What are you gonna do? Okay, so here we go. Is it? Saw it coming. No. Okay, we can save our Luminarch Aspirant with the Fading Hope and also Scry. This is the great play I was just talking about. Now they do not get to learn, and I get to Scry. So it feels pretty good. Yeah, we need a land. Okay, so this is pretty much cookie cutter as it turns. Let's see how it goes for us. This has to come into play tapped, which means he is effectively tapped out. That means we can safely play our Legion Angel, Badoosh. If you've got counter spells, you might as well start getting them out of his hand. Okay. He's got the mana for it. Okay. Deluge away, my friend. Deluge away. Got some Irish coffee tonight. Cold Irish coffee. A little whiskey. A little sugar. A little espresso. Cheers. What are we saving? The Angel or the Aspirant? Okay, so it's not the typical list that is being brought to Worlds. Definitely not the typical one. Well, he's well into Alrund's Epiphanying levels. He can also feel the Brew and Arcade with the Frost Giant, which is pretty, yeah, that's... He's going to try and cast it on top of the third chapter here. So if he does that, and this is Alrund's, it'll cost him 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll still leave him with 1 open with which he can pay for the Jwari. I think in this matchup, we're going to sideboard in the Malevolent Hermits for sure. Right? Surely. Whatever. This is just so potent. I feel like they always have the answer. There it is. Also gets to draw 2 and discard. So busted. This card can just really go and bugger off, in my opinion. I'm so sick of it. Not only, it's not just because I'm sick of it and I don't know how to beat it. It's just because it's a Nexus of Fate that can be cast for 6, which also gets you a free freaking 2 bird tokens on top of it. So broken. Okay, well, at least he's a little bit low on answers. Kind of. Okay, straight back up to 4 cards in hand. He's probably got another Alrunds, or he's just going to start attacking with it. It's so good. I can see why. What shocks me the most is how did CGB on his podcast with Arjuna just miss it completely. Negate? It's possible. Guys, are you watching this? I think Noriyuki Mori is gonna have a very tough time with this freaking matchup, man. Like, I don't want to say it. Okay, so bye-bye Reidane. There's no Snowlands. I think we can just keep 1 copy for the Valkmira shield. That makes it so that the birdies can't attack. So, and also I can get rid of the Loyal Warhound and bring in the other concerted defense. I think this is the strategy here. We also don't need Fateful Absence. He wasn't running the egg. There's no Goldspan Dragons that I saw. I think at this point, I mean, Battle of Frost and Fire also kills us. This is the more like just Izzet spells time walk deck. There's no, I don't think there's any dragons or other creatures in here. So we can get rid of the removal. I think we can also get rid of the Brutal Cathar and bring in another Alrunds. One drops, huh? Nothing. Oh, Loyal Warhound, just to get the land, I guess. This is my read. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What have I, what would you have done in that situation with the sideboard that I have available? Definitely want to be playing first against these guys. And we've got a Hermit. We've got a Spellbinder. I kind of like it. We'll be able to safely cast our Hermit before they can get a Jwari. So we might have Fade. No? Good. Every single time they have it, and he's only probably running 2 copies in the whole day. It's like clockwork. There we go, he had the same idea. You ain't countering it this time, bud. Bye-bye, Alrunds. Okay, what do we get rid of? We don't have anything really except for Valkmira that needs negating. I think probably the Hermit. No? Or Galvanic. Let's get rid of Galvanic. Rid of. Let's make it more expensive to play. Sure. Small incremental value Tempo plays. Tempo deck. We have full information. Okay. Okay. You can pay the 1, but then you can't cast Fading Hope. Nice. I mean, he can, but he can't cast it twice. Okay, he's digging. Sure. Snowland Sitch is starting to grind my gears a little bit. There. Another Hermit. Oh, come on, just give me some lands, mate. Just, you know, not many, some. Crikey. I think we're gonna try the move. If he costs 4. Better late than never. If he doesn't block, he loses, so he has to block. Now we can block and go up 2 life. Ooh. Ooh. Tight match. We're just lucky he hasn't, you know, Alrunds as anything. Whew. Okay. Lucky. No manlands. We know exactly what they got. Now we're in control, buddy. Back up to 9. Oh, yes! Whew. A little bit of luck. A little bit of luck. Okay, so that felt a little better. That felt a little better. We still haven't drawn a single concerted defense in 2 matches, which is a little bit mind-blowing to me, but that felt quite a bit better. Yeah, let's leave it at that. There's no other adjustments that I would think to make. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Wow, we're already 52 minutes in. I haven't even finished game 1. Some mulligan. Marginally better. Legion Angel needs to go. Unfortunately, we're on the draw, and we have a smaller hand. There's not a good position to be against Is It turns, but we're experimenting. Let's hold up a Jwari. See what happens. No counter spell available. Sure. Fading Hope is everywhere. The new and improved. What do you... have we seen him play Sword Coming at all in the last 2 games? Let's just do the exact same thing again. Baby. Woo! Little bit of luck. Little bit of luck. 2-1 against Is It turns. Maybe Noriyuki Mori does know something I don't know. At first glance, I was like, you're going to get shredded. And that first game, you know, we got shredded. The guy isn't playing the egg version, which is, I think, the better one. No gold spans, no egg. Be interesting to see. Alright, so this video is going to go longer than an hour. I have to be at peace with that. I rambled too much in the introduction, but I felt like I really needed to make those statements. First of all, about how I played. You know, a viewer left a comment, very kindly worded comment, and he was right. My gameplay was not phenomenal during the Grixis list, but I just felt like I needed to explain a little bit more about why I think my performance was so bad during that video. Those clerics decks, which there is again, at risk of repeating myself, not one of in the entire event, I had nothing to really, you know, counter their strategy. I really felt that Grixis Epiphany list was not built in any which way, shape or form to beat on clerics. Please give me a white sauce. Please give me a white sauce. Is it Epiphany again? Twice in a row. Highly likely. He's seeing my sleeves and he's like, Azorius. Ooh, Simic. Something different. Misa likey. Misa likey a lot. Thank goodness. Someone's playing something unique. Sorry, bud. No ranger class for you. Of course you had a second. Of course you did. Why wouldn't you? No snowlands, so probably going to side out Reidane, but let's go have a look at this hand. Bye-bye, Ren! Off we go! Failure burns within us. It's going to cost him 7 to play. He plays a Lotus Cobra now, and drops a land the next turn, which he will. He'll probably put down the hall now, if I were a betting man. Oh. It comes, you know, whatever. Both of them are. Four, drops a land. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7. Two aspirants. Bring it on. The opponent is ramping like crazy. Probably going to regret taking that 4 damage. Well, it's Ren coming our way next turn. And one big ass tree folk token, which I have nothing. Ooh, not Ren. This is going to bring in a land, and you can play another land. This one comes into play untapped. Then you can play another untapped one. That's going to be 3, 4. Still not enough to play the Ren, so that's okay. We're going to try do the block then phase out thing with the Spectral Adversary. Ooh. Okay. Definitely just Simic Ramp. Not, you know, not one of them in the event, so I doubt your Noriyuki Mori was planning to play this list at all. What? You can do opponent stuff too? Did not know that. Did not know that. Cool. Sure. Whatever. Okay. I did not know that. I thought it was just your own stuff. Interesting. So now these things can take 5 damage, but here comes Ren, and I've got nothing to take care of this token with at all.
And perhaps
I am not entirely sure how it is that he was planning on dealing with this token. Whoops. Sorry, bud. How are we going to deal with this thing? So this is the matchup where we probably sideboard in some of the removal. You know, Portable Hole and Fateful Absence, and Brutal Cathar needs to go into this one, I think. Oh, there goes your Chariot. The +1 is just so weird. My feeling is that this was supposed to go at least at face value into a Golgari Reanimator type thing, which is why, you know, you put stuff in the graveyard and then eventually you later bring it back. But in a deck that has no way of bringing things back from the graveyard, it just feels really bad when you like just put some lands in your hand and then you put like really important cards to your strategy in the graveyard. Like, I'm pretty sure he would have liked to draw that, and he was going to next turn. And then, oops. Everything block. Akasha. Do we keep this for Ren? Do we use it on the chariot? That is the question. How likely is it that he'll just -3 Ren and make another one of those bloody counters, tokens right now and then copy it with the Asika? I cannot risk that. Just cannot. I'd rather he makes cat token copies with his chariot than tree folk 8/8s that grow. Matchup is crazy. It's going to phase my guys out and attack. I'm going to lose. Good game. Now that I know I can do that, this makes a lot more sense. It's not just for saving creatures, it's also for getting rid of blockers. It's genius. Well played. Kept the mana. I will respectfully take the damage because I'm a gentleman. Well played. Why don't they have a well played emote? Well played. Alright. So mostly creatures, very few non-creatures. But there is an Asika, there are some ranger classes, there is a Ren. So, I think the Warhound can go. For starters. Reidane can go. In comes the Cathars. Maybe one less Cathar, one less defense, which we have not top decked once. Let's bring in the Hermits, just because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. There were no counter spells there, though. Target non-creature. Target non-creature. Nah. Let's bring in another Hermit. Alright. Again, let me know in the comments. What do you think about my sideboarding with a deck I've never played? What have I missed? What am I doing wrong? A little low on mana, but I'll keep that. That's interesting. We got a Cathar, we got everything we want. And, you know, at least what we sideboarded in. Tap land. I wonder what he's boarded in. Land, please? No. Brings it in again. Still no land. Another turn down the dust. Down the drain. Come on, land. Please land. Oh dear God. 2 lands in the top 10 decks of your library. Ah, magical. Opponent has 4. We still, if we top deck the land, we win. Come on, baby, just give me 1. It's a freaking crap land. Really? Okay. Ren? Ren would be great. Fingardis. What are you trying to do here, buddy? You can flash in a 2/1 flyer if you tap out. It's not a reach tree. Okay. Okay. We still win. I got this. I got this. We got this. Okay, so I'm going to leave that as is. So the Cathar is clearly in there for those tokens, because the Skyclave Apparition cannot get rid of those tokens, but the Cathar can. That felt really good, getting rid of that token. Really, really good. And it's, other than the Fateful Absence, the only way we have of getting rid of them, so... Not the best keep, but we do have a Jwari, which always makes me feel cool about countering their turn 3 play. Nice. I'm not keeping another land. Feels so good. I must tell you, that feels really good. Jwari is so good when you just get it. You should have played that land first. It's for Alrunds. Primal Adversary. Woo-hoo-hoo, Cathar time, baby! Oh, so brutal. Tempo, tempo. We play nothing next turn. Okay, we play something. Or do we? We don't. We can block. We have first strike. We have ward, pay 3 life. We have flashy innie guy. I'm learning how to play this card now. They haven't played anything, which means it doesn't switch back tonight. Okay. Wow, baby, that felt so good. Beating the Simic list as well. Opponent, a little bit of bad luck, not getting a lands he wanted, but that felt really, really nice with Cathar in the list. Noriyuki Mori, clever chap, who knows? He might be onto something here. I want to do at least 3 full matches in best of 3 with each of the decks that I'm going to be doing this on, so I apologize for this video dragging on a little bit longer than my usual videos, but it's time to take this in for a game 3 and final game before I call it a night. Ooh, SBMTG just put up a video. I love Dev.
What up, Wizards? It's Dev. SBMTG, we like it.
He cracks me up. His puns are on point. Say what you want about his, you know, he plays unranked all the time. He's not trying to push rank at all. He just wants you to have fun playing Magic. Mono white. Okay. This is going to be interesting. Luminarch Aspirant turn 2. The Clarion Spirit. Ah bah ouais, c'est cool hein. Bah ça c'est cool hein. No, we want that. We definitely want that. Orzhov King 88 playing mono white. Does he have the... Yes, he does. Of course he does. When have they not got him? I think this is probably one of the toughest matchups that we can find here. And really good when the opponent's double spelling. It switches to night now, which means we get to become a 4/4 with first strike and ward 3. Mate, it's a tough one to take that much damage. We do not like that at all. Bye-bye, Aspirant. So we take 7. No, we don't. We take 3. Yeehaw! God, I love that. I think I love that. You're taking 3 though in the air. That is a really tough freaking cookie. God freaking damn it. Sweet as. We still die though. Again. Oh, mono white, man. What a force to be reckoned with. I cannot wait to see whether mono green or mono white is the better, you know, aggro deck to get underneath the Izzet turns deck. And what is... I actually haven't even really looked at the mono white lists. There's 2 or 3, I think, in the total 16. Okay, so they pretty much play no non-creature spells. So straight away, Concerted Defense, bye-bye. In come the Cathars. Okay. Also, I feel like we don't need the Malevolent Hermits for that exact same reason. So in comes the Portable Hole and more removal. And this is absolutely snow, so we're leaving Valkmira in, or Reidane. Let's drop the Warhound. Boom. Game 2. Fight all. Round 2. Fight all. The only reason why I'm keeping this is I'm a crazy person. It's a pretty wonky hand, but I do really enjoy the feeling of Jwariing somebody's stuff, especially when you're on the play. It's so good. Especially Clarion Spirit, especially against mono white that has almost got no answers to that. Here comes my Spellbinder, buddy. Hope you like it. Oh, yes. Bye-bye, Sky. Unfortunately, he has a second. Gonna be coming my way right about now. What? Okay. Sure. I'll race you. Oh. 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 Ooh. Feels so good. Oh, that feels so good. Come at me, bro. Where's your apparition? Let's do this thing. Sure. Then the apparition? No. Even better. That was probably a freaking mistake, though. It's gonna apparition the Cathar. That was a mistake. Okay, no. Oh, wow. That's great. What a misplay. Come on, land. Land. Please land. Oh! Please land. Has to be, right? Pay the 3 life first. Man, that sucks. Mega balls. Come on, land. Give me the land. What are you doing here? Okay. Why the pause? Get fucked. You asshole. You slimy, slimy asshole. Sorry. Just can't help myself. Well, that's gonna be game. Better late than never, huh? Not in this case. Now it's game. Alright. So mono white got us big time. Maybe I did a wrong sideboard strategy there. That's very possible. Like I said, it's not my deck. Also, you know, haven't played much of it. But mono white is one of the decks that Noriyuki Mori is expecting to be playing. So there definitely is something I missed there, and I would again like to hear your thoughts about that in the comments down below. But that's 3 matches in best of 3. We won 2 of them. Some with some incredible luck, others with some pretty good piloting from yours truly. But I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you all so much for watching, especially those of you who stick around to the end. You are my favorite people, and it means the world to me. Don't forget, everybody, to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, if you would like to be notified of future daily uploads, just hit the little bell icon and you'll get notified every time I put something up on the channel. I will be coming at you tomorrow with Jean-Emmanuel Depraz. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. I do speak fluent French. Jean-Emmanuel Depraz. I hope that's properly how I pronounce the guy's name, but he's the only other guy that's bringing one of unique deck to the party, which is Temur Treasures. So if you'd like to check that out, don't forget to tune in tomorrow to the BrewLab, and I'll be bringing you some gameplay footage with that one. But yeah, once again, thanks so much for watching. This is Lone Fox from the BrewLab, signing out. Peace, y'all.